Welcome back, everyone. Well, let's adjust this trunk and get it fitting where it needs to go. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Well, gonna get back to working on this trunk. Now, as you, if you watch back in the other video, the center of this trunk needs to be pulled out, which I'll pull it out a little bit on each side as well too. Originally it was damaged. They backed into something or something hit it and pushed that in. But before we do any pulling down there, straighten that out, I'm gonna have to, I wanna align this trunk the best I can all the way around, get my gaps all together, making sure that it's gonna be where it needs to be. Now up here, it is nice and tight, which actually is not correct. Gaps on this car, going by the doors and the way this was set up, should be about a 1/4 inch. So the whole trunk needs to go to the back a little bit, which will help take up some of that gap. This side, as you can see, needs to go down, this corner. That side's pretty good. And going by the line here, we're a little tight here. And we're really big here. I'm going to fit a thumb in. So we need to come back. That corner needs to go down. And then the whole trunk lid needs to kind of shift that way. Just a little bit to the side. So get some wrenches. Get going on it. So these are the bolts here in the trunk lid. We're just going to loosen these up. Let some stuff move around a little. Not a whole lot. Doesn't take much, very fine movements. I'll snug that back down. We're closer, but we still got to go a little further. Here we are. We are pretty darn close. There might be maybe a 1/16 of a lip there. That is close enough for all the adjustment we got to do to get to this point down here. So we're going to leave that there at the moment. Now I'm going to adjust that latch. So now with those bolts adjusted there, we're going to come to the inside here. And this is the latch that's going to move. So this latch has to go up further. The latch down the bottom, the only movement I have on that is side to side and back and forth. To suck this trunk down further, I've got to take this latch, loosen off these 2 bolts here, and move it up further just to bring it down. So give that a little adjustment. We'll see how it works. There we go. That is almost perfectly even. It's actually just a hair below the body. But on this side here, it's a hair above. And just with pushing my thumb, when I push down on this, see if we can see it over here. See, it moves up just that little bit. It's just rocking on the 3 points between the latch here and the 2 hinges. So once I get the weather strip all around this and it actually has something to rest against on the 2 sides here, I'm hoping that that will even it out. You know, there'll be some tension over here holding this side up, which will actually bring that side down a little bit, and that'll make it even up and down on the sides. But I think my gaps look pretty good. Everything seems nice. Gap's not bad. A little bit smaller on this side. The whole trunk kind of needs to go over just a hair, but I'm not going to rack my brain to try to line this up now. I'm pretty close. Maybe a shim on this side just to bring it over a little bit, but it's close enough that now I can get ready to start doing my pulling down here. Now, to bend this hood, kind of going to give you a little show of what I'm thinking. I'm going to build a little jig. Originally, I was thinking about stretching or pulling this hood with my tractor by chaining it off to my truck or something, but there's just no control in that at all, right? I could really mess it up. So I want to make something that's a little more delicate, a little more precise, so I can really fine tune those bends. So this is kind of what I have in mind. I'm going to build a jig. I got a piece of 3x3 box section, and that'll be my base. And I got some 3/4 by 3/4 square stock. And those are going to be acting as my hinge points that would normally be on the car. So that my hood kind of curves up a little bit. It's going to sit something like this. Just make a little detail here so you can see where that top lip is going to be. So this will be mounted to the hood. We'll be using the original bolt holes, making sure that all distances here are even, and making sure that we have a perfect center line right down the middle. Now, to stretch this out, I'm going to build a little stand here. So going from the point where it mounts here, because this is going to take quite a bit of force to bend, I'm going to build 2 legs that'll come up with a flat top. This will be 1.5 by 1.5 square tubing. And then at the top of the hood, where it latches on, there's actually a flat spot. It doesn't do a complete perfect curve. There's about 6 to 8 inches approximately where the trunk gas lid, it's a flip down gas lid, fits, and it's flat. So it's going to put a piece of large steel or wood, probably wood actually. It'll mold a little better. Piece of wood in there. Then in between here, we're going to put a bottle jack. So everything perfectly square as it is. All my weight forcing up on this will be pushing down to the hinges, making sure that this bar doesn't bend. I don't want this to bend and cause any damage flexing in on the bottom of the trunk lid. And I'll keep this nice and straight. And then as I bump this up and down, I'll slowly be able to move that hood out. Now with it still in the car, I can measure right from the back edge of the hood all the way to the front of where the front lip is on the bumper or the back half of the car. And doing those measurements there, and then the measurement where the hood is now, I'll get my distance, which is going to be here, that I have to move. And that's my plan. So we got the material over here. We got everything we need. We got welders. It's my 3x3 tube over there, 1.5 inch square here to make the arms, and then the arms for the jack base, and of course my 3/4 inch by 3/4 inch square tube, which is going to act as my hinge. So I'm going to pull some stuff out, get the metal cut up, start getting ready to build that jig. So got the hood down here on the benches. Now I'm not sure how picky I need to be about this, but I got it shimmed up so we are dead on the level side to side. And also where the hinge mounts are going, we are perfectly level as well too. Now, I don't know if I need to be that picky, but my thought was I want to have these hinges as straight as I can and in perpendicular to each other as I can, so when I do the pull, it's a straight pull right up the frame on each side, so that my middle, once I got that aligned dead center, it's just straight up. Now my measurements I took from the car to what's here, I measured from the back of the lip here, and I actually pulled it over the edge, the tape measure, just so I know I'm going to be getting accurate as I can. 1/4 inch is what I'm going to move. The last little bit, there is a little flare out right on the end of this hood, and that's what I'm going to use, that little bit of a bend back and forth. That's what I'm going to use as adjustment. So we're going to try to build the jig to push this thing out 1/4 inch. Got my first bar up here. Going to take some measurements, start making my hinge material. there we go. The hood stretcher 3000. Well, went well. Everything fit together good. Everything lined up good. I got this as square, as straight, as level as I can. So bottle jack is going to sit on the top here, across those 2 points. Then of course I'll have to remove the latch, and I'll use a piece of wood that'll be just on each side of where the latch is now. I want to try to make sure I keep that flat spot where the latch goes on there, so it doesn't stretch it out too much. Make sure my bolts still line up. But now it's time to get a bunch of measurements to make sure I'm not distorting this thing too much. I need to make sure we got measurements from the corners on each side. I'm also going to take a level and go across the center here to see how much of deflection there is in the middle, because it does dish. But I want to make sure that when I'm stretching this thing, I'm not sucking that metal in too far, pushing it out. One end is contorting. Maybe it's bending too far out. I just want to make sure that everything's going to go smooth, because I got to get about a 1/4 inch. This whole thing here in the middle, hopefully, a 1/4 inch, tapering off to almost nothing at the ends. All right, it is time to throw the bottle jack on it and start stretching this thing out. So I went through, made a beautiful little drawing here, and got some measurements I needed to make sure I'm not going to distort this thing too much. So from the bottom corner to this corner, took a measurement, and also took a measurement here. Now they are actually, even though this, if you go back to some of the other videos, and also, a little earlier in this video, you'll notice that when this was on the car, it was perfectly square. This edge was smooth with the fender, and so was that. And then about 3 to 4 inches in is when this thing started dipping in, so it actually drops in a little bit. Theoretically, it doesn't really drop in. It's actually flat, which is a problem. This needs to come out in the middle. So when I measured it, I got 41 1/4, just a hair above that on the left side. On the right side, I had 41 1/2, just a hair under 41 1/2. So it's not even from factory, I guess, or from the way it's fitting on the car, but it did fit smooth on the edges, so we're not going to mess with that. The only thing we're really looking at changing is the middle. At 37 3/4, where it sits right now, I need to get another 1/4 inch, a little bit better, out of this thing and just shove that up. And hopefully that works. So, going to remove the latch under there, get the bottle jack in, get a piece of wood to brace up in there. We're going to see what happens. All right, so double check the measurements. What I decided to do here is the jack, I got it cranked in and then just tweaked back a little bit. I want it so that I can jack it up, put the pressure on it, but when I stop, the trunk will start to relax again, so I can see how my movements are going. Press it up, let it relax, press it up, let it relax, and I'll keep going past my point to see if we can get to stay. So 37 3/4 where we're starting. Let's get this open. I don't want it to drop a little more than that. See how that does. There we go. All right, yeah, it doesn't take much to stretch that out. Let that ease down. My hinge points, they don't seem to be flexing at all. Everything I can see is flexing right across his back here. No oil panning on the lid itself, which is good. Going to give one hard push past center. Ooh, I heard that. Let that ease down. Let's relax it and get a measurement here. You're at 37 and just a hair over an eighth. So we just went past an eighth, just an 1/8 inch past, or further I should say. We still got to go more, but you could see how far past that eighth it went and relax back down. So we're really going to have to stretch this out. I don't hear any oil panning going on in the back. There's some creaking, but my hinge points are staying solid. So I'm going to readjust this block. Everything looks good here, but I do want to get it out a little further. I don't want to take the risk of bending this backside in where the latch sits. So I'll bring the block out a little further and we'll give it another push. All right, got the block moved. We're gonna give this one more big stretch and see what happens here. We're really gonna, oh yeah, I can hear my welds. I can see the whole front edge of this rising. There she goes. Hinge points still look good. No oil panning that I can see. Let that ease in there. We'll just kind of stretch that back and forth. Oh, something making noise. But you can see by my bottle jack, we're quite a ways past where we started now. So, ease that off. Woo. Let's get a measurement here and see where we're at. There we are. We're a 16th past 38. So we moved just over a 1/4 inch, which is exactly what I was looking for. I can physically see the difference in the curve of this trunk lid. So, well, I think that's it. I think we might have stretched out this trunk lid. So here we are, the back of the car again. Got it on. I didn't pay as much attention to line it up. I got it close, but I'm not looking really to make this permanent at the moment. I'm just looking to check, see how this fits. So, definitely need to go back the other way a bit, but that end is nice and smooth, fits good. Over here, we got a nice transition to the side. Of course, our gap is off. The whole trunk needs to come this way a little bit, but the gap is good. But if we look down here, we have completely covered up that seam. If you were to stand at the back of the car and look down the trunk line, we are perfectly in line with the back of this this bumper. Well, not even the bumper, part that goes above the bumper, whatever you call that, but it's perfectly in line. The only thing we have that's a little out is right here. It comes back to about here, but this is just this part being bent in so much, same as the other side. It's just really, really warped along here, really whacked. You can see the big bends in it, but that is a success. We now have a trunk that fits semi-properly. Structurally, it's in the right spot, but now it's going to be a lot of detail finishing work. So inside here, I'm able to get in behind here, no problem. There's lots of holes and openings, and I really got to work on this back area, getting that metal popped out a little bit more and work it a bit. You can see how many dents are in this. It starts probably right around here, all the way across, and then it smooths out here. Just that big area that was dented in. So we can work on that. I'll work on a little bit of metal here, but for the most part, almost all this is going to be replaced. Now this side here is almost perfect. There's no rust in behind here. There's actually no rust along here at all until I get to this point. But what I'm thinking for the back anyway, I'm going to cut this off almost on following this angle, cut this off down here, keeping this nice edge just so I can keep the original factory edge, and probably cutting this right across all the way. And of course down here, keeping this spot here in the middle where this lock is. This is a punched in area. It's got a little keyway and it's a little locked area just for that trunk lock to fit. I'll fix the dent beside it, but I'm thinking coming right down beside it here, all this is good solid metal. This is where the rust starts, and the same thing, we'll cut it off here, work my way along, out to here, and around. Now, this is the worst edge. I'd love to keep this factory edge just because it's so perfect on the outside, but it is rusted and stopped right at the point where the inside skin is. Now, it's going to be harder to do. The steel on the back of the trunk is perfect. This side of the skin is good. This side of the skin is what's rotten, and it actually was a little bit up in here. This will probably pop through when I start grinding it, so I might have to do a little metal work here as well too. But I want to keep at least one part of this, the inside skin, that original edge, to get this curve. But that's it. That's it for today's video. That was a bit of work. Worked out great. I am happy with that. That is going to be awesome. The trunk's going to fit right down nice. Still got to work on my settings up front here, of course. But that is just another step closer to getting this whole body in primer. So, as always, thanks for watching. Thanks for stopping by. If your first time coming through, I would love a subscription. Just really trying to hit that 1,000. Taking a long time. The YouTube channel definitely not a big grower. I don't know. It is what it is. I love doing this. I love throwing out some videos. Sometimes I get a little sidetracked, and like this here, jumping on to another project before I finish this one. But these will get done soon. But anyway, love you all. Thanks for stopping by. Like, subscribe. We can both learn something along the way. Have a great week. Catch you again later.